If you clicked on this podcast episode or this YouTube video, whatever platform you're on, there's a good chance that you're thinking about quitting your 9-to-5 job. Otherwise, why else would you listen to this video or this podcast? But here are my thoughts on leaving a 9-to-5 job because it's something that I have done. I left my 9-to-5 job to pursue my own business in real estate investing. And I did that 4 years ago when I was 21 years old. So I'm 25 right now. And I left my banking job because I felt so stuck. And I know what it's like to have the fear of quitting your job. And I kind of went maybe a little bit of a different approach than what might work best for you. But here are my thoughts on everything. There's going to be fear behind this decision, most likely, about leaving a 9-to-5 job. And it might not even be the best decision for you just yet. But first, before you make any decisions about leaving your job, because I really care about you, even though I don't know you yet, whoever's watching or listening, is listen to my story first. So I remember being 21 years old when I was 20 years old when I started my bank job. I just got out of college, graduated college with a finance degree. I started working at a bank full time. So it was a 9-to-5 job, and I did kind of an assortment of things at that job. I did some loan officer stuff, so I helped people get loans for mobile homes, commercial trucks, stuff like that, like a partial loan officer. And I was also part of their accounting team. So I was doing a lot of their accounting as well and their books. So I was kind of like in between because I just filled roles that other people had left the company, and I just kind of filled their roles at the same time because I had the skill set to do so. But in doing so, I remember the exact feeling of coming to work every single day. At first, it was fun. It was very fun at first because I was like, wow, I have a job, I'm making money. This is great. I really didn't have many intentions to become an entrepreneur or a business owner. I was very content working a 9-to-5 job, having a stable income. I was so content until I started working there more. And I only stayed at that job 6 months, I believe. 6 months full-time working. And by the end of those 6 months, I was miserable. And it wasn't because the people were mean or anything. The people were actually so kind and so generous at that bank. I loved them. But the work itself was so tedious, and I felt so stuck, and I felt so limited by being there every single day. And here's what I mean. Every single day I come to work, I would do the same exact things over and over again, and no matter how good of a job that I did, no matter how fast I got things done, there wasn't really room for growth. Like I would finish my work for the whole 8 hours and 4 hours or 3 hours, and I'd ask around like, hey, do you guys need help with anything? What do you need? What do you need me to do? Like I'm ready to work. And no matter how hard I work, there's not a ton of room for income growth. And once you run out of stuff to do, the challenge goes away. There's no more challenge. And I think at first that was the fun part of having that 9-to-5 job, is the challenge of learning new things is fun for me. I like learning new things. I like struggling, and I like overcoming those things. But once the challenge was over and the day-to-day became the same repetitive things over and over again, and it was doing it for someone else and not my own thing, because there's a lot of repetitive things in your own business as entrepreneurs, but you're doing it for yourself, and it makes it a little bit more worthwhile. And I remember when I felt that stuck, I just thought, man, I have to get out of here. I have to do something on my own. And I'm more of a very fast decision maker. And at the time, or even now today, I'm not married. I don't have my own a family of my own. So I had the ability to quit right away. And that's what I did. I remember I set myself up at least. I got my license as a realtor. I started looking for more houses because at the time, I already owned one property as a rental property at 21. And I remember when I made the decision to quit, I was like, yep, I'm out. I'm going to try to do this whole real estate investing thing and realtor thing full time because I just feel miserable. And I did have some fear because I was leaving a stable job. And I remember leaving that W-2 income. I was like, man, this is going to be tough. This might be a little bit hard, but I was very confident in myself. And I ended up making probably the same as I worked at the bank the first year when I was like fully on my own, which was around like $30,000-$40,000, which was cool because, not a lot of people have the ability to leave a job and then replace their income with something that they're doing on their own. So that was cool. It was a cool idea, but it was really hard. And it was so hard kind of leaving the stability for uncertainty. And even making that decision, it did take some time, even though I acted fast and I didn't have the responsibilities that maybe you have. Like maybe you do have kids, maybe you do have a family, I don't know. But if you do, then you have to act differently than me. You can't act the way that I did. You can't be rash. You have to be very thoughtful because you have a family or people to take care of. But that was my experience leaving my 9-to-5. I did it before I had solidified a solid income yet, which is very scary, and I had the risk tolerance to do so. You may be risk averse. You may be scared of risk. You might not be the same way I am, and that's okay. If you are risk averse and the thought of quitting your job without a stable income already set scares you, maybe don't do it yet. Maybe stick with it, especially if it's not killing you yet. If you're at the point where like, I am miserable, maybe consider quitting your job, but at the same time, you have to be smart. So if you have a family, if you have kids, and you don't have that stable income yet from your side hustle, from your other thing that you're doing outside of your job, and you have kids and you're responsible for them and you don't have a ton of savings, you got to be smart about this. You have to really think of what your game plan is, of what you're willing to take for yourself, what kind of crap you are willing to take from the job in order to give your family or the people you care about a life that's worth living, first of all. And you have to get everyone on board too, in terms of here's what the game plan is as a family. Like, I think being honest with the people closest to you is going to help you the most. So you have to be smart about when you make your shift. But if you're in this kind of position, I would say the first thing to do is make that game plan. Make the game plan of, okay, what's the side hustle that I am going to do to try to generate income on the side? And what's the level of income that I need in order to make the leave, in order to quit my job? What's the level of income from my side hustle that I need to quit my job? If you're single, if you're willing to take on risk, you probably can just quit your job and then go for it. This is the time to risk. If you have more responsibilities than a single man like myself, then you probably cannot take that same risk. So these are just the thoughts that I hope help in general for someone considering leaving a 9-to-5 job, because I know if you're in that position, there is fear behind it. And I just wanted to do my best to try to help you mitigate that fear. And it's not even so much that you're fearful because you think you're gonna completely fail. A lot of fear comes from just not understanding where your risk is at, where your risk tolerance is at. And a lot of times you just don't understand what the worst case scenario is, because that's what fear stems from, really. It's not knowing what's gonna happen. That's where a lot of fear comes from. But if you just kind of sit down with yourself and you determine, okay, what's the worst possible thing that can happen? What's the worst case scenario? And you determine the worst case scenario and you're okay with that, then once you come to terms with that and you realize, okay, this is the worst case scenario, I'm willing to hit that if absolutely needed in exchange to reach whatever goals or income things that I'm trying to reach. If you can come to terms with that, the fear will be greatly reduced because you understand what you're risking, you understand what you're willing to give up and to sacrifice to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So those are my 2 cents about leaving a 9-to-5 job. I hope this was helpful, and if it was, then give me a follow on other social medias. I love to connect with you. My @ is Justin You're Wrong on everything. Talk soon.